So what kind of simplicity of logic today be talking about Lee Kuan Yew, Singapore's George Washington. Now the reason why I use the analogy is because both men are seen as the fathers of their country. George Washington for the United States of America and Lee Kuan Yew for modern day Singapore. And both men saw the country at basically one of its most dangerous times. Even for George Washington at least, after the colonies won the war, things could have gone horribly bad. Different states could be fighting for power and everything. It was the respect of George Washington that the states managed to hold together, even among other foes, and Britain, who was always wanting to come back to take its colonies back. And with Singapore, the communists and everything, how Lee Kuan Yew fought. Just in regular talk, people talk about things like, if I was alive during this man's lifetime, it would have been amazing to see this man in action and stuff like that. And I'm proud of that. I saw the changes. I left the country for 6 years, and every time I came back, I literally could get lost in Orchard Road because there was so much construction and everything, and Singapore was constantly improving. And therefore, I can say that I am very lucky. I lived through a period of Singapore's history in 50 years, in one man's lifetime, from a country from third world to literally first world, one of the richest countries in the world. And as Henry Kissinger said, for countries so small, as Singapore has much more influence than it should have. Another analogy to this, but nowhere similar in scale, is Genghis Khan or Genghis Khan of the Mongol Empire. In one man's lifetime, from a country which no one expected anything from, horse nomads, a population of, to the biggest land empire in history. You know how rare that is. And on top of that, in the 13.7 billion years of the universe's history, this 50 years is less than a millisecond. But yet, I'm lucky enough to live through it. And we are able to, in this moment, live through the history of a country at its biggest spark. Even if Singapore becomes even more successful, it will be this moment where people will always attribute it to. And people will say, I wished I lived during those times of this great man, even at nothing just more than this study of how to build a country. And I think, if anything, there is a begrudging respect, and how much of this success can be attributed to him, that during his death, even one of his political enemies, where he said he broke down because he, although did not like the man, he could not but give a begrudging respect to the man who built the country, basically. Is there downsides? Yes, due to the constant competition and meritocracy that he built up. That is true. Social graces of the country is lacking, admittedly. But at the cost. What is the cost? And it was due to this pragmatism that we didn't end up like so many countries. On top of that, we were lucky in the draw, in that, admittedly, he was very much a control freak, but it was because he was a control freak and not corrupt that the country was able to keep on prospering. And of course, of his intellect, unlike people who come in with certain right intentions such as Marcos and all, who ended up corrupt because, well, money corrupts. And luckily, we got a guy who did not. And on both men's death, immense amount of show of respect. To live through a period where a nation is formed, the identity of a nation is formed. One can say that, yes, there was identity before modern day Singapore, but I think the current landscape, this racial diversity and everything, is all attributed to his period of time. Napoleon said, one of the saddest things in life is not to leave your imprint in the sands of time. I'm not talented, and I probably will never leave my imprint in the sands of time, but I am so proud to have lived during the time of a man who left his imprint in history. So thank you, Lee Kuan Yew. Thank you very much. Till next word.